bags packed and ready for a long weekend at Musquodoboit Harbor in Nova Scotia, I set out in the rain from my home in the Maine mid-coast. Unlucky for me, the weather forecast was calling for wind and rain, often not conducive for wildlife photography. But that's why you always have a plan B, and that plan was bringing the wildlife to me at the shoreside cabin where I'd be staying for the next 4 days. And that's where this adventure begins. So settle in, grab your preferred beverage, and be sure to like and subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my future wildlife vlogs. Well, I have a feeling that the first day of this vacation might be the best weather day. So I took some time to set up the bird feeders that I brought from home, and I'm determined that despite some poor weather on the forecast, I'm still gonna make the best of it and get hopefully some bird photos. As I've been hanging out here, I've seen some gulls fly by, there's been some ducks, crows, and I also spotted a belted kingfisher with its distinctive flight pattern go right up the inlet here. So that's a good sign that there's some wildlife already in the area. But yeah, I got set up with all my bird feeders. I've placed some bird seed along the little path here to hopefully entice them to come a little bit closer. But there's a lot of good protection off in this thick forest right behind us, and I'm hoping that they'll feel comfortable enough to come fly in, grab some seed, and get acclimated to this spot. So while the weather is going to get progressively worse, I'm hoping that the birds will find this seed. I also set up the suet feeder, and I have an extra suet bar for them that I'll throw out when I do come out here with my photography blind. But my goal is just to get them finding this seed over the next 2 days. Even though it's going to be raining, it's going to be really windy. Hopefully in the morning and in the evening they'll come by and grab a bite to eat. But right now what I want to do is I want to show you the spot of where I'm going to set up my photography blind. And that's just right down here. So right over here next to this chopped up dead wood, there's a good 5x5 foot square that I can set up my photo blind at, and I'll have a clear shot at the deadwood and the suet feeder and bird feeder on that deadwood with its branches sticking out. Hopefully this will give me a nice shot where I can blur out the background and have just a nice clean shot of one of the birds coming by. Off to my left hand side, I set up another one of my bird feeders using just a short nail into the branch that hopefully will attract some of the birds coming in from behind us off in that thick fir forest here. And then right in front of me I've got all of the logs with the seeds spread around on the ground that will hopefully entice them to drop down, and we can get some good wildlife shots. But over the course of the next couple of days, it's going to be rainy, it's going to be windy with wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour. So I just wanted to get this set up on the first day of the vacation and give a nice offering to the birds that might be in the area. So fingers crossed that we can get some cool wildlife shots over the course of the next couple days. Well, we woke up to a bunch of rain and a somewhat thick fog this morning. Still went outside and got some video of ducks foraging around in the mud flats here. Heard a bunch of crows and gulls calling, but the rain has been very moody, which has been a fun morning to shoot in. It's one of my personal favorites to shoot in more dark, moody environments, but got the fire going right now. Quick update on the bird feeder situation. The only thing that has stopped by was a little red squirrel, which I got some video of, but still going to keep an eye on the bird feeders throughout the course of today and tomorrow. I'll probably check in with you all later today, set up the blind out there and get set up in preparation. I did hear some chickadees off in the distance today, so I'm hoping that just with a little bit more time they will find the suet feeder and the sunflower seeds that I got out there. But for now, I'm gonna stay warm by this fire and drink some more coffee, and we'll check back in with you in a little bit. and an impromptu walk down at the local beach turned out to provide some of my favorite wildlife photographs of the trip. Despite the wind howling and thunderous waves crashing on the beach, that didn't slow down the fox and shorebirds from foraging during this fog-filled afternoon. All right, so update on the bird feeder scenario. When we got back from the beach today, I noticed some chickadees and some goldfinches were hopping around the trees, both on the side of the house and out in the spruces behind the house. They slowly were making their way off, I would say, parallel to the bird feeders, but did not take the cake, so to speak, and go for any of the suet or seed that I got out there. The only resident that seemingly cares right now is the red squirrel that keeps running back and forth to get the sunflower seeds. So given now that it is raining, and I looked at the weather for this evening, and it's gonna be wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour, I think I'm just not willing to risk having my photo blind either blow into the bay or off into the woods behind the house. So what we're gonna do now is let this weather just kind of come in over the course of the night, and then tomorrow morning I will set up the photography blind and spend an hour or two, and hopefully by then the birds will have found the feeders, because there's a lot of seed and suet out there for them, and this video hopefully will capture the birds that we got around our house. So stay tuned. Well, good morning. As I was waking up this morning, I came out just to see what was going on, and I noticed some of the American black ducks were back, digging through the mud flat, and I figured before I set up the photography blind over at the bird feeders, I'd come over and see if I can get somewhat close to the ducks. They like to take off anytime that I get close, so just gonna see if I can slowly make my way around the corner here and get a few more shots of them out foraging around in this mud flat before I spook them too far away. Well, it didn't take long for those ducks to fly off, but with a little bit of patience I waited around, and 2 of those pileated woodpeckers flew by. One of them landed right on the piece of deadwood in front of the cabin. The other one went off a little bit around the cove, but I was able to get a really cool shot really far back with separating the background of the island that's out there, and I think it came out pretty cool. As I've been waiting around though, I have heard a lot more songbirds right here in the woods, and I'm hoping that that's a good sign for the bird feeders. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my photo blind all set up over at the spot, and I haven't had coffee yet, so I'm going to go inside and get some coffee and food. But I'm hoping over the course of today we're going to start seeing some of these birds swinging by the feeders. It's been a little bit difficult because every time that I come out with a set plan, I deviate and I start shooting the gulls. I didn't film it, but there was a gull that had a sea star in its mouth as well. So there's just a lot of cool shots that you can get out here, and I'm trying to stay focused on what the main objective is. But it's a beautiful morning out here. I don't really even need this jacket. It's probably 45 degrees outside right now, and the rain has let up substantially and gone away. But last night it was really difficult to sleep. This cabin has a beautiful metal roof, but in the wind and then in the rain, there was just gusts up to 50 miles per hour. I didn't quite think that it would get that high, but it was up to 50 miles per hour and torrential downpouring rain that made sleep inconsistent, but it was a very, very peaceful night in the cabin. But yeah, let's go set up the bird blind. All right, I think we're all set up for now. I'm really hoping that this is going to be fruitful with some birds, but yesterday I didn't have the chance to film it. I did see an eagle fly overhead, as well as a snowshoe hare hop its way through the little garden here. So there's plenty of wildlife out here to see. And I think we have our first bird visitor.
So as you heard, the first bird to show up to the feeder was the song sparrow. I first noticed it kind of directly out in front of me where there's a bunch of deadwood and brush that's washed ashore from the inlet, and slowly started walking his way in, which is probably a good giveaway that it's a sparrow. I feel like other birds tend to post up along one of the higher trees and wait for a good time to fly into the feeder, but not the sparrow, as it's still calling out behind me. But yeah, like I was saying, there's a bunch of wildlife that comes here to this cabin property, and I'm hoping that over the course of this day, more birds will show up and we can come back out here later in the evening, maybe when the tide's a little bit higher. It's starting to come in right now, but yesterday I saw that common merganser pair, so there's definitely a lot of wildlife, and I can see it looks to be another American black duck out that way. So with a higher tide, some food in me, some coffee in me, we'll definitely be back out here. Well, my hopes of a productive afternoon out in the blind has come to a crashing halt. As of right now, there's another storm cell that's rolling through with more rain and more wind. I didn't foresee this being a problem, but when we went out to go hike this afternoon, we got to the trailhead and started as a drizzle and then turned into a downpour. So we came back to the cabin, set up the fire. It's nice and warm in here. I'm gonna keep reading my book. Fingers crossed that the weather will subside for now, but if it doesn't pan out for this evening, that's okay. Still have tomorrow morning that I can go out there, and hopefully the end of the weather, the harsh weather will, hopefully it'll be the end of the harsh weather and some birds will come out to the feeders. But for now, just gonna enjoy reading my book, enjoy the wood stove, and I suppose enjoy the sound of the rain hitting the metal roof here. Well, it's not quite the birds that I was expecting at the feeders this morning, but I finally got to see the hare that's been wandering around the cabin property, foraging around in the grass. We've seen a few of them over the course of the last couple days, but none with my camera here. And luckily, while every bird seems to not be in this vicinity, that hare made its way out, and I was able to capture a few moments with that hare before it ran back off into the forest. But yeah, really cool capture to see. I don't think that I've ever filmed one before, so this was a first for me. And with that, I think I'm going to call the video here. I've got to go pack up the Airbnb, break down this photo blind, and I guess I'm going to leave some of the seeds in the bird feeders for the squirrel to keep foraging on over the next probably week or so. But I've really enjoyed my trip here to Nova Scotia. For it being so early in the springtime, I was able to see the fox, common mergansers, eagles, a lot of the ducks foraging here in the flats, and on the final morning, the sun finally broke through and was able to kind of see some of the beauty of this Muscatobit Harbor region. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you consider subscribing if you're not already. Additionally, now you can click that thanks button and leave a small monetary tip. Every dollar that I would receive goes directly into making these videos, whether that be fixing camera gear or just purchasing gas to help travel around. I would really appreciate it, and thank you very much for your support. But for now, again, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.